All right, we're good.
Good to go. Okay, so we are
Thank
calling.
you.
I am calling the October 21st, 2020 meeting of the Katuitt Water Board of Water Commissioners meeting to order. We have Commissioners Hoppenstadt and Robinson and Chair Horsley present. We also have the Superintendent Chris Wiseman and the General Administrator Jennifer Nash present. So we'll start the meeting. The first agenda item is public comment. So I don't know that we have many. Fran, we see you here, but are there any public comments other than items that are on the agenda for starters? Okay, hearing none, let's move to a very important agenda item, the meeting minutes. We're a little behind schedule here, and I'd like to get these minutes approved, edited and approved, and recorded into the record. I did provide some edits to Jen. Jen, you've mentioned that you've, and I think I sent those to both Commissioner Hoppenstadt and Robinson, and those have been edited. So I guess I would ask if there are any other amendments to the minutes. And these are, maybe, I'm sorry, Jen, maybe you should just mention which minutes these are, because there's quite a few meetings. We should just get that on the record if you have that handy.
I do. So February 19th, 2020, I believe, oh no, it wasn't the last time we met in person. March 4th, 2020, March 25th, April 22nd, May 20th, July 15th. We didn't meet in June because of all the district meetings. August 4th and August 26th, as well as the most recent September 23rd minutes.
Thank you, Jen. So any other comments or proposed amendments on the minutes? Any of those minutes?
I think they're very detailed and very accurate.
I'd make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented for the months of February through September.
Second the motion.
And Jen, just for clarification, that would be with the edits that I provided, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. Okay, thank you guys for going through those. I know there's a lot of material there and COVID set us back on schedule, but now we're up to date. So let's move on.
I will need a couple of physical signatures on them from Scott and Mark.
So I will stop by, and Mark, if you can stop by to sign those, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we will move to the superintendent's report. Chris.
All right, let's see. We have superintendent's report read on October 21st for August. August pumpage of 2019 was 28,077,000, and in 2020 it's 34,908,000, for an increase of 6,831,000 gallons of water.
Increase 6 million, is that right?
It's still 6 million. It's 34,908,000 we pumped.
Thank you.
Yep.
So increase 6 million. Yeah.
Correct. We've had a steady all summer long increase with the hot weather. I thought it would end, tell you the truth, this month, but it's just starting to in the last week. We're starting to get where only 2 pumping stations are running most of the day. I think that number will be going down. I don't think it'll go to the same level. I think we're still going to have high, because I still think there's a lot of people still in town and not going to be leaving, with people being able to go to school remotely and everything else. I think there's just a lot more people in town. Just knowing that, even with traffic wise around right now and everything still. Well, I'm kind of on that. I don't know if you'd really like to discuss. Commissioner Robinson sent an email around earlier about the status of the drought levels that have been put on most of Massachusetts. We're in a level 2. They sent out a actual flyer today from DEP that I was going to send to Mark just to see if he wanted to see it, to I thought about having Jen put it online, at least taking a picture and throwing it on our Facebook page and everything. It just tells a little more about the significance of it and everything else that's there. We are in at level 2. If you go to the southeast region right now, which is between basically part of Boston all the way down to Plymouth, they're actually in a level 3 right now, which is a critical drought. So they have a lot of stuff going on there. It does kind of warrant something put out at this point. Even just to even mention how much it's affecting even the chance for wildfire out there. Everything's getting dry. Lately, we've had a little bit of rain. I don't know where the rain came from yesterday. I didn't even know it was coming, tell you the truth. I thought it was supposed to be nice out yesterday. But I think if that's something you might want to talk about later, Mark had actually volunteered to write a little, notice to put out. And I did get to see it this afternoon. I see there's a couple percentages there, Mark, that you'd like. I like the letter, and I'll get you those. I have tomorrow afternoon off, but I'll try to get them to you tomorrow to talk to Jen in the morning.
I have it
see if
right
we
now
can-
if you want it.
Okay. All right. We can fill in the gaps that are there and everything. Yeah.
The increase is more than 23% over the same period last year. And I took July, August, and September, specifically those months, as I have just sent those numbers to Ray for the tax roll. He needed that information. So it's 23% more than the same period last year. And if you're looking at the shoulder seasons, we typically pump 14 to 16 million in like June and September. And in the high months, we're pumping 36 to 46 million. So a lot more than 8, 9, or 10 million gallons more.
Yeah.
So demand is up and supply is down.
According to my wells right now, my wells, as of right now, I can go through, I did this last week. 3 of my stations are down about 2 feet compared to this time last year. And 2 of them are down roughly a foot, foot and a half on another. That's quite a bit to be down, because last year I thought they were kind of low, tell you the truth. So it is quite a bit. We still have water in there. We're not critical right now. There is water there, but it is concerning how low that the wells are right now. And this is the time when we're usually trying to regenerate them and everything with the rainy season usually coming and the snow and everything over the winter. And I'm just hoping we get the precipitation that we need to keep things going.
So Mr. Chairman, thank you, Chris. I appreciate the help on this. I just felt that we need to be a little more proactive in, I know we have the sandwich boards out or the yard signs out about voluntary water conservation. People don't even see that anymore. It's just part of the landscape.
Yep.
Because they've been up all summer. And I think it's important that people realize that even with the summer over, you can still have a drought.
Yeah.
So I guess it's continuing to be staggering to me that the population of Cotuit in July and August 2020 wasn't that much different than it was in July and August in 2019. But they're using a lot more water. And so it's directly related to the fact that we didn't have any rainfall. People are wanting to sprinkle more. And I think that this, people have to understand that there is a real relationship between irrigation, lawn watering, and the increased pumping that this district has to do to provide that extra volume of supply to keep lawn screen. People aren't taking more showers or washing more cars this year than they did last year. It's related to irrigation, as far as I can tell as a layperson. The other thing I'd like to say, Chris, is that, we rely on your judgment as to when you think things need to become more mandatory as opposed to voluntary. because you're the one keeping the eye on the equipment and the water levels. And I mean, if you think something is in danger in terms of affecting the operation, make sure you give us a heads up long before we get to that point.
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely. Like I said, we've actually been lower in past years before we cleaned our wells, before they were nice and cleaned and got regenerated and everything. So we're still in a good situation right now. We're not great, but we can still handle what's going on right now, especially with the usage being down a little bit. As of right now, like I said, things have stepped down quite a bit in the last couple of weeks.
I guess I'd like to get some clarification on this document that you prepared, Commissioner Robinson, which I thought was excellent. How do we plan to convey that to the to
The
our
same way
customers?
the same way we do everything, just as many different ways as we can.
Yeah, that's what I want to make sure we are covering all the bases there. How will we get this out to everybody?
Well, I'll send it to the press. They frequently ignore it, but sometimes they put a little thing in the newspapers.
Actually, just to let you know too, also, Sean came in this morning and said it was because we were talking about it the other day, and he says that the Barnstable County Regional Planning Committee actually put something out on their Facebook page yesterday, almost what came from the state and everything else with the letters. So they did put something out on their page. So he actually did see it. I said, geez, I got to stop following whatever that is because it's not on my feed.
Yeah, so all the ways we put things out, Mr. Chairman, I think Jen knows how to do that.
Okay, well, I just want to make sure that happens. Chris, do you want to continue with your superintendent's report?
Sure. No problem. All water samples that we did for bacteria came back clean. We also just did, and I just got them back actually this afternoon, and I'll talk a little more on them later, but I do have sodium results and secondary contaminant results that came back. The sodium came back a couple days ago, and the secondaries I just got about 4:28 this afternoon. So I'll talk to you a little more when I get down to another subject that I have going on in the report here. I just wanted you to be aware that they were there.
Okay.
We didn't have any services or leaks during the month. Our security project, we had a gentleman from GHD come up from or over from New York, up and over, and do some final clarifications on stuff. I'm just about ready to say that we're finished with that. We're online, we're running, we're pretty happy. There might be a couple small things afterwards that might be add-ons that we see that we didn't really think about, but it's not going to be anything I'll have to ask money for. It's money that we already have that will be left after the expenses have been paid. So we're getting real close on that. I just wanted you to know too, I talked to, the chief still comes over every Friday and volunteers his time and sprays our building down with sanitizer. And he was telling me that at Freedom Hall, they have become live now on, if we wanted to have a live meeting there, you can have a Zoom at the same time. I don't believe it has been tested all the way. We were going to let Fran do that, I think. No, I don't know who was going to be testing it, but yeah, somebody else. Yeah.
The audio is terrible.
Is it?
And just watching the last Prudential Committee meeting, the audio is still
okay,
not great, but
yeah, he
it
just
works.
mentioned this last Friday. Yeah. Okay, good.
So can I just, we've got the audio problem solved.
Oh, good.
Oh.
So, and we have tested it and it was very clear and very good.
Excellent.
Who would we follow up with for training on that if we were to do a live meeting there?
Excuse them. Probably Paul, Paul and myself.
Okay.
Good. Another thing that I have here on my list, we finally got our results back from our PFAS sampling. And I had to wait to 2 different days. I kind of messed up with one of the bottles. We did have a slight detection at station number 1. Yeah, let's see here. The results are like, it has to be over a 2 to be there. And we had a 2.4 and a 3.5 for 2 of the 13 different elements or PFASs that they tested for. I talked to the state. Nothing's in violation. It was in the raw and the treated. So I only have to do finished water now. They wanted me to take a confirmation sample at station 1 to make sure that it's still there, that it wasn't a fluke. But the way the new protocol is going to go to establish for future testing, every water department is going to have to test this every quarter. When I tested this last time, it was in last quarter. So he says, I'm just going to send you 5. You test everything. We'll confirm it at the same time. And then you'll be done for your second quarter. So I talked to somebody today. The bottles are coming from Eurofin's lab out of Illinois or something. They send them in the mail. I take the samples now and I bring them down to pack mail and they send them overnight. So we don't look bad. I don't like seeing any in there, but we're still under the MCL.
And Chris, just to put that in perspective, the MCL is 20, correct?
It was lowered to 50, I believe, wasn't it? Oh, is it 20 now?
I thought
Was it at
20,
50 and 20?
but-
Yeah, I looked at
And
so
I
many
think
MCLs today.
I think
Yeah.
Massachusetts has the lowest standard in the country now. They lowered it this year.
To 20, you're right. You're
I
right. They
believe it's
did.
20,
They
so-
lowered it down, and it's taken a lot of people that were between 20 and 50 and put them in violation. Yeah.
So we're going to have I just want to make sure I understand that. We're going to reconfirm. We're going to run another round of samples to confirm those results. Is that right?
Correct. We're going to kill
What's the
2 birds
timing on
with.
that?
They're actually on their. I talked to the guy today or emailed with a gentleman who actually works at UMass. They're doing it through UMass, I guess, the study.
Yep.
And he's going to send me the 5 bottles and some trip blanks with them from or through the lab's going to send them to me. So they usually get here within the week. I'll have to line up a day that I got everything ready and I can make sure that I have all the proper equipment with me and everything else. And we'll go down and do it, or I will, excuse me. And then we're kind of killing, like I said, 2 birds with 1 stone because the state requires us to do it every quarter this year.
Yep.
So for 4 straight quarters. So we're going to actually do the quarters and confirm the last one by doing this.
That's great. What are the units again?
The units, they are, and one of them is, okay. One is PFOS, the PFOS.
No, the units of measurement. So
I think it's nanograms per
the
liter,
nanograms.
Yeah, nanograms per liter, yes.
which is parts per trillion,
Parts per trillion. Yeah.
Correct.
which is the first standard we've had in the parts per trillion range. We're used to dealing with parts per million and parts
Yeah.
per trillion. So we're in a new world here.
Right. Yes.
Chris,
But-
just to
Double check that. Thanks.
Mr. Chair. So well number 1 is the one in the village, off West Street, right? No?
Yep.
No,
Or is it?
actually, no. Well, number 1 is the one that's in between the 2 that's in the well field, down in the hole. So it's the one that's in the middle.
Okay.
It's awkward. That's number 1. The sand pit is number 2. The one down the village is number 3. The one down at the end of the well field, the only one on the left is number 4, and the one down on 28 is number 5. So yeah,
That's kind of random in the middle of the well field where the other ones don't have it.
I know that, and that's why they're like can confirm it. I'm like, they're pretty close. The 400-foot radius almost touches. So you gotta wonder.
Well, Chris, I think this is an important point that Commissioner Robinson is raising in terms of it'd be nice to know, think a little bit about where this is relative to potential sources. So maybe next month we could have a map that we could show on a share screen here.
Okay.
And I think this is worth making sure we all understand exactly what we're talking about. So if we could put that on the agenda for next month, just to kind of confirm where we're talking about and maybe look at the zone 2 and potential sources, et cetera. I mean, the good news is we're only at about 10 or 15% of the MCL, but the fact we found it I think is worth keeping our attention on it.
Correct. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm talking about testing and everything else. We have a home over on Roosevelt that we've had historical issues with iron and manganese problems. We've tested it. We've had a report done over there. They took a sample from their house and brought it over to Envirotech. And the gentleman from Envirotech sent me back the results that they had, called me on it and said, these results are way off the map. So after looking at them, we went out. That's when we did the sodium and the secondaries and been waiting on those to compare the two together right now. I haven't got a big thing, but I can tell you that they are off the map. Like the pH was 10 there, which every pH we take in town is like no higher than 7.2 coming out of the station. The manganese level was a 0.323. We haven't did anything over a point. It's been like a point. There's no 1 point, I guess, or I guess I say a 0.1. There's a couple things, but the one that really popped out at me is that they had a potassium of 730 mgls, milligrams per liter. And I don't think we've had, looking at our results, I have here beside me, the highest potassium. Yes.
Sorry, while you're looking for that, is this a tap sample out of their faucet we're talking about?
Well, this is what I've asked. I got a call from their lawyer who I asked her to be at the meeting tonight so we could talk a little more about it. And she couldn't. She had to a medical issue she had to deal with tonight, so she couldn't do it. But the description they have here on the sample is basement water line to filter, which I don't know what it was in, what kind of bottle they put it in. I don't know where they took it coming into the filter. I have a feeling they might have taken it from the filter itself, the water around the filter, and I might be getting filter breakthrough here or something because the sodium level in here also was like 93, which is not even close to what comes out of the ground. We do have a 30 at Station 5 right now coming out of the ground, but that's the highest it gets. Every place else is 20 or below.
Yeah.
So a lot of this stuff is off the charts.
I was thinking the same thing. This could be a result of water treatment, water softening equipment, and or water tank. A corroding water tank can certainly put some iron and manganese into the water, and some of these treatment systems can easily change the pH and other things. So I think it's worth. I mean, what's the next step here? What are they asking us for?
Well, right now, the woman wanted to talk to me about it a little more, and I told her I would send her the results I have from ours. Their next step, they said, is that they're going to get a private testing company to come in and do some tests. I said, that would be great if you could actually, and share those with me. I said, because I want to make sure that somebody that knows what they're doing is taking the test, and that they'll go in there with the proper stuff, and it'll be a third party, which...
Chris, can I also suggest that if this is becoming any bit of a contentious issue, could it be possible to make arrangements with you or one of your staff to be there to see where the water sample's taken?
Sure.
Because I think your point about whether this is before the filter or after the filter is really important, and we don't want to spend a lot of time unless we really understand where this is coming from, because I think it's our responsibility to deliver the raw water to the house that meets standards. But after that point, if it's going through non-maintained treatment systems and corroding water tanks, that can change everything.
Right. I don't believe they had, I believe it's a tankless system that they had. They just had to, they pulled out their hot water, their heating system, and the words that came from me, that I heard from one of them was, they just had to put a brand new furnace and heating system in because your water rotted the old one out.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I'm not telling her you're
Mr.
wrong
Chairman?
and everything else.
Yes, yes, Commissioner Roberts.
I think that because this does involve potential litigation, that we certainly are involved in any custody of any sampling that's done.
Agreed.
You know, and we might even want to take our own sample at the same place at the same time and send it to where we typically send it.
That's a good idea. I agree with that. So Chris, if you can arrange to be there, observe the sampling point and split a sample with our own lab, I think it's worth the time and investment to do
Okay.
that.
Yep.
Any other comments, Commissioner Heppenstall?
No, I'm on board with that. I think these numbers are off the charts, and to me,
Yeah.
it does seem like there's a source outside of the system that's
Right.
producing these results. And so in order to get a handle on that, we have to be part of the sampling team.
Okay, great. Chris, well, that sounds good. Thanks for that report. What else
Nope.
you got here?
I still got one more here. Sorry.
That's all right.
And it's been a pain in my side since we started, but it
I think I know what you're going to talk
the new vehicle.
about.
Nice.
Yep.
Since we've basically been talking I about the new vehicle, and I got the okay to go over there and order. The next day, I called up the lease company or the CVEC and said, let's get going with that lease. She goes, great. I'm going to put your application into the state. I got back that we were accepted to the state. She says, I'm going to put out get some quotes for you so we can send some stuff out. And it took her about 2 weeks, and she said, hey, I got your quotes and everything else. It looks like you're getting a Nissan Bolt. And I said, a what? And she said, a Nissan Bolt, you know, a fully electric car. And I said, I can't use a fully electric car that has, 6 inches of clearance on it going around and everything. I need an all-wheel drive. I said, Sport Ute. That's why we talked about the Subaru. She goes, oh, geez, I didn't get anything back on that. I said, well, I have a quote after going back and forth for a few days. I said, I have a quote that was given to me that said this. She goes, well, just send me that. I'll send it into the state again. We'll talk. Then she went through. We got okayed. Finally, everything was going great. Subaru sent me an application for the lease. I was going to send it in. I sent it to Ray to send in, actually. And they came back and told me that, let's see, hold on. JP Morgan is the leasing company, and they require a private cosigner to lease any vehicle, even to a municipality. So they wanted me to co-sign for it, and I told them I wasn't going to co-sign for it. I don't want to ask anybody to do it. I don't think anybody should have to do it, I said.
No.
They said they will not bust, they will not break. So I said, well, it looks like the Subaru's out of the question. I asked her to start looking at the Mitsubishi that was originally supposed to be done. After quite a few tries, she said she found one. It went on for a while, then they backed out at the last minute and said, we're not writing any leases with municipalities anymore. So she looked again, went all through Massachusetts looking around, found somebody in Attleboro that said they would. She contacted me this morning and said they won't write a lease. No Mitsubishi dealer will write a lease. They backed out. She's put in a complaint to DEP. It looks like there isn't a hybrid to be found out there that's a Sport Ute all-wheel drive, and they will not lease anymore. They stopped about 3 months ago.
Fran, do you have any comments on this or ideas, thoughts? If I may ask.
I'm not sure that, I don't understand why they won't lease, and I certainly don't understand why JP Morgan requires it. I'm sure, what municipality is going to have a private cosigner on a lease?
Right. And this happens all the time. Municipalities lease vehicles. I don't understand this at all, Chris.
Yeah, because the town of Barnstable leased a whole fleet a few years ago, remember?
Fran, is there anybody that we can get involved, do you think, to help Chris negotiate this deal? Because it sounds like we're not getting a straight answer here.
You might want to contact the procurement office at the town.
Yeah, okay.
Or maybe the procurement
That's a
officer
good
at the
idea.
county.
Yep.
Either one of those, they're both very good.
That's a good
Yeah,
idea.
that's where they were going to send the check to the Barnstable County, and they were going to write it over to us if once the vehicle was given. The way it was explained to me from the dealer was that if it was somebody that wrote their own, like Ford Motor Credit writes their own, Nissan writes their own, I believe, and Chevy writes their own leases. Because it's a private company of JP Morgan, they have to go by their rules. And they actually called the vice president of the company to see if he would write it off because of municipality, and they said no. I don't know if it has anything to do with the cars that everybody have are Nissans or Fords or Chevys or what there, and they had no problem with them. Or if they bought them outright. I don't know.
The other commissioners have any comments, thoughts, or ideas here?
I do. I don't know how it's gonna go over, but I think we're budgeted on this for up to, was it $35,000?
I think it was 30 something, 35,
And
36 something.
now we're dinking around with it and we're getting into the winter months and you're driving a personal vehicle that I saw you in the other day. And I don't think it's gonna be very reliable, and I'd like to see a reliable vehicle wrapped around you, and I think we need to make a purchase. That's what I think. I know we've been beating around the bush and trying to do the best we can, saving money with leases, but you know, how long are we gonna dink around with it before we
What
say
it's worth, I agree with
we need
Tom.
to buy something? And if we need to buy something, we have the budget for it, we have the approval, we went to a special town meeting for it, we got that. And we should move forward.
Thank you,
Would-
Tom. Fran, I didn't hear what you said, Fran. Could you repeat that, please?
I said, I agree with Tom. I was about to say that, it sounds like this leasing business is just not optimal. And I would just go ahead and look at buying something.
Okay. Commissioner Robinson, any thoughts on this?
Well, I think it's worth a try with the procurement office. I mean, you might get lucky, but I wouldn't spend a lot of time on it.
I think we need to give some specific direction to Chris here, because I agree with Commissioner Happenstall. We're taking a lot of time and energy on something that we need to resolve. I think it does make sense to do the lease, but I also think this should not be open-ended. And I'd rather see Chris supplying water than hunting for vehicles. So can we, anybody got a motion or a suggestion as to how we put some limits on this and get the job done?
Seems like a good path forward might be to check with the procurement offices, town of Barnstable and the county, see if they could help at all. And if we don't get a response within a week from them, or we get a negative response, then we start shopping for a vehicle, whether it be a new one or a used one.
Yeah, I will just say, I apologize. I don't mean to bump anybody out or anything. That I actually did call around this afternoon after I got this and said to these people that I had quotes on before, and only one of the vehicles that I had quotes on before is available now. So I asked them if they had anything on the lot that it was either four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive that was either a sport ute or a pickup. I said, and give me a price on it. So I did get 3 prices today. Just, I don't know how long they'll be good, but they have them on the lot now. So that's kind of a problem we might run into, is how to get a pickup truck, for one thing. Most of them are selling right out and they're being gone, and they're going to 21s instead of 20s.
Yeah.
All right, well, let me make a suggestion here, and I don't know if this needs a motion or not, but I think we need to expedite this. So Chris, my thought is, let's check with both the town procurement as well as the county, and please keep me copied on who you're talking to, and I'll try to assist you on that.
Okay.
And if we determine that neither of those looks like it's going to be successful, we'll I guess I'd ask the commissioners if we can authorize that conditionally to move ahead with the purchase if we don't get any good results from either procurement office. Alternatively, I guess we can bring this back into the agenda next month. But
I would make that motion.
thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, Chris, let's you and I be in touch on that, and please
Gotcha.
confirm with both the town and the county. I think Commissioner Robinson's suggestion here is a good one. I've had very good luck with the town of Barnstable procurement office. They're very professional, and successful. So I think there might be some hope there. So let's make sure we go through that process, and I'll work with you on that. Okay.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Is there anything
Yep.
else in the superintendent's report?
I do not have anything, but Jen would like to give you guys a quick update on online paying.
Yes,
She's been
Jen.
doing a lot. She did some training today and
Oh,
everything. She'll get you out.
Go
So
ahead,
we
Jen.
are literally this close. We've been doing a lot of Tremaine. I'm not sure you guys know the Brava billing software that we use. It's a one-man show kind of software. Paul Fernandez, who built the program and customizes it for all of his customers, all of the different districts that use it, passed away suddenly. His son took over the business. He's an engineer with Verizon. He does this part-time. So the process did take a little longer than it should have. The first issue was bringing us up so that the database would work with Windows 10, because that technology was progressing faster than Brava did. Then it was a matter of file formats and going back and forth between Unipay and Brava. And we did finally get that resolved yesterday. I had a training session with Unibank on their Unipay software today. There's about 7 follow-up items that I CC'd the treasurer on today, so that he's aware of where we are with this. I'm hoping we're going to have a soft launch. None of what was pending will stop us from going live. It would just mean a lot of manual entry. And that's one of the things that the treasurer is trying to resolve with some of this to satisfy one of the things that came up in the audit. So we're very close. There's a file format in the file that needs to be fixed, and then the way it imports into the database. So very soon you'll see some marketing materials. You'll see a link on our webpage. We'll announce it on Facebook. It's good timing in that ideally we would have liked to have had it when we did the October billing, but that didn't happen. And I've gotten in probably, I would say, Chris, probably close to 700 or 800 payments just in the last week and a half. So right now, while it's soft live, I'll upload multiple files so that it's up to date with the check payments that we've received. Just so you know the limitations of it, you can pay using an ACH debit to your checking account, and it costs 25 cents to do that. You can pay by credit card. They will not accept Visa because Visa doesn't recognize us as a municipality. And Barnstable has the same issue with the school district. They don't recognize that it's a municipal thing. So MasterCard, American Express, Discover, and ACH payments are all accepted. If you pay by credit card, the price of that is a percentage of the amount that you're processing, and it amounts to just under 3%. I think it's 2.95%. So it is a little more expensive to pay by credit card. All of that, we don't see any of that. All of that is paid by the resident. Credit card fees are sent directly to the credit card processor. The ACH fee goes back to Unipay, and we don't pay anything for the software. So other than I think we had to set up a checking account with them. So that'll be going live very soon. We'll have a soft opening, and hopefully it is well implemented when we issue the bills in January.
All right, thank you, Jen. Any questions from the commissioners on this? I think it sounds like it's moving ahead.
That's great.
Thank you so much, Jen, for staying on top of that. Okay, well, let's move on to old business, and I'll address a couple of these items initially. The first one is the irrigation workshop follow-up items, and thank you, everyone, for following up on some of the notes that Jen took on our workshop, which I thought went really well. And I've continued to be talking with people, including someone recently, I forget his name, Jen, who's installing a private well irrigation system, and I'm helping him with some advice on how to do that. Jen posted an additional document on the website today or yesterday on fertigation wells to help clarify that. So I think that's all moving ahead well. But one of the general comments we got from a couple people is maybe we needed to do a little more evaluation of the effects of the wells on the river and potential changes in locations of wells. We could move a well, I think somebody suggested, or add a well, which I'm not sure how feasible that is. So I did some thinking about that and did have conversation with a couple of people, including Tom Cambereri, who came to one of our previous meetings to address us on the PFAS issue. Tom's currently under contract with the town to do pretty much exactly this scope. He's helping the town identify new potential sources of wells, public supplies, as well as look at pumping of various wells. And he has access to the US Geological Survey model that simulates all of these flow conditions. So I talked to Tom about the possibility of addressing us at our next meeting in November to talk about what could be done in the way of some additional investigations, which might include either numerical modeling and or field work to verify some of these conditions and also to explore some alternatives. So that's kind of where that stands. I would, unless the other commissioners have other suggestions, I would plan to invite Tom to address us at the November meeting with some thoughts and suggestions on how we might move forward on this. I do want to make sure that we, do our due diligence before the end of this revised moratorium, which is March, and get us to a decision-making point on what we're going to do about this irrigation issue. But I certainly want to, given the comments we got, I wanted to kind of explore this possibility. So that's what I have as a suggested next step, and I'm open to hearing comments from the other commissioners on whether this is the right approach or if people have other ideas.
I think it's a great approach. I think Tom is well respected, and the models that you mentioned are the ones that we need to have that we need to have run and applied to see how any additional pumping or relocation of wells and adjustment to pumping schemes will affect those wetlands. And I think I'm hopeful that we can do that without having to do a lot of additional field work. I don't know the models well enough to know that, though.
Okay.
I agree. Tom has been the longtime county water planner and it's helped a lot of water districts over the years, including this one, I'm sure. So I'm just curious as to whether this is in anticipation of a contract or how does that relate to the kind of standing contract we have with GHD, and do we have the budget? Is it coming out of an engineering budget or what?
Well, it's good question, and I do think it would be a budgetary item. Tom is under contract with the town to do some of this work. What I've been talking about would be an extension of that. I think probably a pretty cost-effective extension because it's the same model that he has up and running. So I would think it would be probably the least expensive way to go, but certainly there would be more of his time. So it would be a budgetary item, and I guess I would just ask others who might have some history here how we would best proceed with that, whether we need to do a RFP to get proposals or whether it's something we can start to negotiate directly with Tom, who's got this ongoing. If anybody has any thoughts on that. I think the next step, the November meeting, Chris, just 1 minute, please. I think the next meeting it can be more informational from Tom just to talk about his thoughts on how to do this. But I think we would want to move to some sort of a procurement to get either his or somebody's time to actually do the work. Chris, do you have some thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was just going to say it depends on what the price is. If I need to get any kind of extra, like get from 2 different other firms or anything like that, at the most I might have to get 3 quotes from somebody. If it was somebody that we've dealt with in the past, I wouldn't have to because they would be considered our engineer. So
Right.
We can deal with them again and add to another contract, or we don't have to go out to bid on that. But
Okay.
scenes we really haven't, and believe me, it's nothing about Tom at all. I was on the Water Advisory Council with him. He's a great guy. He's very smart. and respected. It's just because he's new, we might have to get two other prices if it's not too outrageous.
What
Because
do
I
you know
think
what
if
the
it's under
threshold is, Chris, for?
I'd have to look it up, but I think
Okay.
it's 5,000, something like between 5 and 20. Under 25, I'm supposed to get 3 quotes, but there's a kind of a area there, gray area. So,
Okay.
but I can look it up tomorrow under the procurement laws.
Okay, well, let's talk. Like I said, I'll try to get him scheduled for the November meeting, and we can make a decision at that point how we want to go and what the proper procedure is.
Correct. And we do
maybe-
have an account, by the way, we do have an account there that has some money in it. So just as long as it reaches it doesn't reach a certain level,
Yep.
We do have some money in there.
Okay, great. Thanks, Chris. Any further comments or thoughts on that item?
Are those funds that you mentioned, Chris, are those engineering funds?
Yeah, we have on a line item, we have so much money a year for legal and engineering.
Yeah.
I do have some engineering stuff that I have contracted out already. I'd have to go through and see what I have for open contracts right now that I still owe money on, and that I'm still paying to do. But there is a good amount of money in there that could be done just for reasons like this, the up and coming events of something like this.
I think you should get Ray in the loop as well.
Okay. It's actually a yearly contract. I mean, the yearly budget anyways.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have to ask him for anything special, but I would
Right.
just, if
Just
he
let
needs to
him
know,
know.
yeah.
Yeah.
If we sign a contract, I'm supposed to send him a copy of any contract we sign anyways. So
Okay.
I'd let him know ahead of time probably that we would be doing it.
Okay, very good. Any other comments on this item? Okay, let's move on to the last item under old business, and that's the Katuitt Elementary School property, and I'll give a quick update here. I did speak with Terry Moran, who's the representative of the Katuitt Kettleers, about the possibility. Well, actually, let me take a step back. About 2-3 weeks ago on a Friday, there was a walkthrough on the building that the fire chief invited me to, and I think I advised the other commissioners on this as well. None of us were able to make that date. I did ask Lindsay Council, who I had been talking to attend, and he did in fact attend that date. And then in thinking about the building and really just talking with some people in the village, I had a thought that maybe the Katuitt Kettleers might have some interest in the building. And really what I was trying to think of is a summer activity that doesn't have a lot of wastewater generation. So I called Terry Moran, who's one of their officers, and had a very good discussion with Terry. A lot of interest. In fact, I verified that again with him today because Terry actually went to the site visit and walked the building with the fire chief and Lindsay Council. And I think they brought an architect in too to look at the building. And my sense of that conversation, and again, I was not there, but from talking with both Lindsay and Terry, who did attend the site walk, is that the building is in very good condition. It does need some upgrades to meet codes, but I think we're all on the same page that if we can find a use for it and not tear it down, a civic use that doesn't generate any threats to our water supply, then we might want to support that activity. The other part of this, of course, is to maintain and improve the recreational fields, which Lindsay Council is a big proponent of, as well as myself and I think others. So I think there's a possible way forward here, and I also spoke with Seth Burdick about this, who has been involved in it, and he's interested in it as well. And I guess what my sense of this is, I don't know that we should be the ringleaders on this, in that we're not going to be the primary user of the building by any means, unless at some point we end up with the water treatment facility there, but that others, including the fire and Prudential and notably the Kettleers, might be the primary users. And I'll just maybe expand a little bit. Terry's thoughts on how they might use the building would include equipment storage. They have a lot of winter equipment storage, which doesn't generate a lot of wastewater. They also have the need for umpires and revisiting coaches, et cetera, for a place to change before games and after games. They also do a number of educational programs at the recreational fields with children in the village, and they're interested in expanding those uses. Terry actually sent me a list of about 20 potential uses that the Kettleers might have of the building, all of which were what I would consider pretty low impact from a wastewater standpoint.
Right.
So I came away from this discussion thinking this might be a pretty good civic use that might help us preserve the use of the building in a way that doesn't threaten the water supply, and also maintain other uses such as the use of the gymnasium as a an occasional meeting space, etc. So that's kind of what I have to report on it. I'm not sure where we go from here, but that's the latest that I know of. So I would certainly entertain any input and further discussion on this at this point.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think that was really good initiative on your part, taking the temperature of the Kettleers, and there must be other civic groups too that may need some storage space. And so I agree. I don't think the Water Commission should be the proponent of this, but as a Cotuit resident, I just think that Cotuit ought to decide the fate of that building more than the town of Barnstable, even though the town of Barnstable owns it. It's, this village does have its own district that operates on a lot of different levels and has various needs at various times. And I think, frankly, we should use the town's own information as a negotiating benefit. The fact that they think it's going to cost the town $800,000 to demolish that building. And any appraiser who would come in would say, well, that's what's called a cost to cure. That's what you're going to have to pay to clean the site, to do something else with it that you want to do, because the town doesn't think the building is viable for their needs. So if they sold it to anybody privately or to us, that buyer would be taking on that supposed cost. We might be the only buyer that doesn't have to tear the building down to accomplish what we want to accomplish. And so I just think that whether it's the Prudential Committee, the Civic Association, somebody needs to bring that message forward, at least to be discussed. And only because we have a platform here, I think it's useful for us to do a little cheerleading for it, whether or not the water department itself benefits from this.
Tom, any thoughts?
The building's going to be on the Prudential Committee meeting on Monday. I was at the walkthrough.
Oh,
Also.
I'm sorry, Fan. I forgot that. I apologize for not mentioning that.
There won't be any cost to us procuring the building, because apparently the town of Barnstable can just sign it all over to us because we're a quasi municipality. We have a friend of the chairman of the fire commissioners, who's an architect, who's going to be getting us some more information about the building. And there is quite a lot that needs to be done to that building to make it usable. So I'm also met with the Civic Association board, and they think, their recommendation was for us to form a committee of members of the district committees and also members of the public, and and then to determine, the top 4 areas that people are concerned about, and then, make a decision about that and look at the cost and the finances. I'll just remind what I keep saying it to everybody, there are only 3,000 taxpayers in the village to support the building. It needs a new roof, it needs a new furnace. It has, it doesn't have any handicap accessible bathrooms. There are multiple problems with the building if you're going to use it for public purposes that going to cost it. And then you have to think of what the ongoing maintenance costs of the building are going to be. And clearly we need to have someone who's hire someone to manage the building. I think that, that size building is out of the purview of the of the Prudential Committee. But we'll be discussing forming a committee. And, you know, any of you gentlemen who'd like to be on the, on the committee, just raise your hands.
Well, Fran, thank you for that update. And one thing I did not mention in my discussions with Terry Moran is that he did indicate that they would have the financial resources to pay rent to help support the building. We didn't talk specific numbers, but he did feel that, and actually it was kind of funny because when I called him, I did not reveal the building. I just asked him if they had any interest in other property. And as he was going on and on, he said, our dream would be to do something with the elementary school. And I started laughing and saying, well, that's actually why I'm calling you. So it was pretty funny. And he did indicate that they do have some financial resources that we should explore to help subsidize the cost of, because you're absolutely right. Even if we get this conveyed free of charge, even if it strikes me that the upgrade costs may be in the same ballpark as tearing the building down. So the two choices are we spend roughly $1 million to tear it down or roughly $1 million to fix it up. And putting my resident hat on and not my water commissioner hat strikes me that if we can end up with a building that's useful for the village for the same price as tearing it down roughly, we ought to be thinking about that. So that's kind of where I'm at on it personally, and from talking to other people in the village. So I think the fact that the Kettleers are, you know, well respected, right, literally across the street, already using the property and able and willing to pay rent, it seems something we really ought to evaluate. I think the two components that I certainly am willing to continue to help with as part of whatever planning occurs is an upgrade to the septic system. And I've suggested to everybody, including Dave and Anthony and Terry and everybody I've talked to, that we could help specify there's some very good emerging technologies that cut the nitrogen loading down on septic systems by probably 80%. That would be a very good demonstration project at the site. And secondly, we could design our own fertigation well that we've been talking about to help irrigate those ball fields, which would be a really nice demonstration project. So those are the two components that I think the water department could weigh in on. But I do agree with Commissioner Robinson that we should not be the lead on this, that somebody else should be taking the lead on making this happen. Those are my own thoughts. But Tom, I don't know, do you have any comments on this?
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with what's been said. I'm wondering, Fran, maybe you guys have already talked about this or thought about this, but is the committee you're thinking of forming, could it be the policy committee?
No, I don't think that the Policy Advisory Committee, I don't think is the appropriate committee
Okay.
to tackle this. And just so you know, the ball fields aren't part of the package. The ball fields would stay with the town of Barnstable ownership. They'd split the lot in half. And the only good news is the septic system apparently is underneath the ball fields. So
Right.
we wouldn't be responsible for, you know, getting rid of that. Or
Right.
cleaning it up.
However, I understand that, Fran, but I speaking with Lindsay, who is a big proponent of the recreational field improvements, there would certainly be the ability for us, and I say us in the general term of the village, to participate at least in helping specify those upgrades. Because again, our interest here, I think, from our prior discussions on this matter and our correspondence is really to maintain or improve water quality. And personally, I'd like to see it be a net improvement regardless of whatever happens. And I think those are the two items, even though the recreational fields would be on the town property, there's no reason why the village and the water commissioners couldn't be participatory in at least recommending and helping specify some improvements on that adjoining property. And there could even be easements if that be necessary, because if the building is going to be generating wastewater on a property adjoining the town property, perhaps there's an easement. I don't know what the legal ramifications are, but there's in any case, there's some sort of a connection that we can participate in.
Yeah, I think that's very important that we're part of that discussion, because if the facility is used, then the septic system is going to be used as well. And I love the idea of a demonstration project to show how some innovative septic systems can remove nitrogen from the system, and we know they work because we've got them all over the place. We just
Yep.
don't have them in enough places to make a difference at this point.
Right. Okay, any other discussion on this item? I don't know that we need a motion or anything. But I guess the only question, Fran, is I think my sense is we do want to keep an oar in the water on this from the water side. So,
And I will help with that. I'll volunteer to help.
okay, Tom, that'd be great. Thank you. So maybe Tom could be our representative in whatever committee moves forward on this. Fran?
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you, Tom. That's great. And I'm happy to help as well, Tom,
Thank you.
as we move forward. So that sounds great. I'm sure Mark will too. So we'll all participate on some level. All right. Well, thank you. That's great. I think that sounds like a good positive step forward. Is there any new business or matters not anticipated that we should bring before the commissioners tonight?
But I, excuse me, just ask that if more than one of you are planning to attend the Prudential Committee meeting on Monday, let me know tomorrow morning so that I can post an agenda, please.
Maybe I'll just poll the commissioners on that. Anybody, Tom, in that you're stepping forward in this, would you be able to attend that meeting?
Unfortunately, I've got conflicts the next week and a half here.
Okay. Okay.
But as soon as they make some
Right.
decisions at the committee level, I think, I'd be available.
Okay. Well, I think I can attend that. Jen, Mark, do you have any interest in participating or?
Can't next Monday.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, Jen, why don't you put me down on that for now, and then that will avoid the need to post a meeting.
Perfect.
Okay, great.
I just wanted to quickly, I got emailed a question, or when one of the warrants were being signed, Tom had mentioned about the freight charges for our lime delivery. And I just didn't want him to think that I forgot that he asked that question or anything like that. We do pay quite a large amount, but we've been doing it for over 5 years now, or at least 5 years back is records. It's been the same price. I believe, to tell you the truth, it was, if I remember, and I'm not positive, that they might have raised it when gas prices went up and have never brought it back down.
It's a huge, it's more
It
than
is, it is, but
time cost.
yeah, well, they have to go to Canada. They go to
Comes from
Canada to get
Canada.
it. Then it comes down from Canada, has to go through customs and over
Yeah.
to another place. So it's got quite a travel to get here.
And you got interstate transport
Correct.
with a hazardous substance. So yeah,
Yeah.
Wow.
thank you.
Yeah.
Any
Sure.
other? Yes.
We discussed the potential reopening of Freedom Hall.
Yeah.
I personally prefer to meet in person, but I don't want to compromise anybody's, comfort or unease about doing that. I think, eventually, I think the idea of a hybrid meeting with people coming in person who want to be in person and others can sit in through the Zoom process, I think is the best of all worlds, because I think better business gets done in person. But I think having this new Zoom technology is going to enable a lot more people to participate that don't want to go out on a cold winter night. But so I guess my question is whether the commissioners and staff would like to try meeting in person again soon.
Well, that's our next and last agenda item. So let's entertain that. Tom, do you have any thoughts on that? I'm good either way.
Yeah, I love the hybrid model. I think you're
Okay.
right. I think you just get more involvement. It's not easy to do, and you have some technology glitches sometimes, but everybody recognizes that. And you do get heightened involvement than we do with this or the other, right? So I think it's a great point you made.
But are you comfortable meeting in person yet, Tom?
Sure. Yep.
And Fran, you've indicated that they've taken care of the audio problems, just to confirm that. So if we do it,
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's. I think that makes sense. Then let's plan on that, Jen. The next
Why
meeting.
don't you ask the staff, Scott?
Okay, good point, Jen, Chris. Thank you. What are your thoughts on this?
I don't have a problem with it. I'll do it. If you want me there, I'll be there with mask on.
Jen?
I'll be traveling the week before, so if you guys are comfortable with me being there, then I'm on board, but
Well, I would suggest that we, if we do it, and I'm supportive of that, that we maintain distance and we wear masks. Both would be my suggestion, to follow the most conservative protocol. I know it's not fun, but I think for the time being, I mean, I think we all heard today that the numbers are going the wrong way here nationally. So we're not, unlike what some people are saying, we're not in recovery or around the corner. We're on an upswing here. So I think we should be as conservative as we can. So, but I do agree. I do agree that it's better to do the meeting in person. I mean, frankly, I'm teaching up at Tufts in person in hybrid form, and Tom, I think you indicated you're doing the same. So it certainly is possible if we take the right precautions. So that would be my suggestion. If we could make sure we set up the room in a way that we can keep 6 feet, a minimum of 6 feet between us with masks, then I'm comfortable doing that. Does that sound okay, Tom?
I would just add that, Jen, if you're going to be out of state, you join us through the Zoom.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
and to do your 2-week quarantine or whatever you need to do, make sure you're safe. And as we've said, everybody's going to be as safe as they can, maintain their physical and social distancing and wear masks. And I think if we operate smartly, we can all stay safe.
Okay, great. Then let's plan on that. Let's plan on the next meeting.
Chairman, you
yes.
have an audience member who'd like to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see the hand.
All I would like to request
Carol.
is it took 20 minutes before I was recognized and signed
Carol,
up.
I'm sorry. I did not see you.
So
that was me, the waiting room.
And I know you guys normally do it, so it's just, as you go to this hybrid model, just be really careful that you have people who know how
Yeah.
to do it, and because, what else?
So you were 20 minutes in the waiting room?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so that's just and part of the setup. You can turn on a bell ringer that chimes on your computer monitor anytime somebody enters the waiting room. I can show you how to do that.
Is that something we do on our side, Tom?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
Jen, maybe,
Thanks, Carol.
Carol, I'm very sorry about that. We
I don't
appreciate,
take it personally. I knew it was a glitch,
we
and
appreciate your input.
there's always the
and,
recording I can go back to, so
No,
no
I was
problem.
Chairman,
taking
I-
notes.
I think that we should redo the first 20 minutes.
Mr.
No.
Vice Chair, I'll let you do that after we adjourn.
So the date
Carol,
for next
Carol,
meeting?
I actually was thinking the same thing. Were you able to hear the conversation or not?
Nothing.
Well, listen, I would seriously, I don't know what the best way to do this is, but
No,
is
I'll go
there a
back to
legal way that we can brief Carol? Because I feel really badly about this.
No,
without-
don't at all. I didn't want you to feel bad. I was just saying, as we all embrace this new technology. I mean, I've been over at Freedom Hall with Fran recently, and she and Paul Root have come up with a great system that enables you guys to be able to record the meetings with video that will be so much better to watch. But because it's new technology for all of us, we all have to pay attention to the bells and whistles, so to speak. So that's all. I'm not worried.
All right. Well, thank you.
I'll have the video posted tomorrow for you, Carol.
Yeah, that's right. And Carol, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to discuss them with you
Thanks.
as a
Thank you.
follow-up. Okay.
I'm sure I didn't need to hear the minutes being approved.
That was the most exciting part of the meeting. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, we need a
Need a
date
date.
for the next meeting.
Oh, a date for the next meeting. I'm sorry.
The 18th is the third Wednesday, I believe.
That's not Thanksgiving week, is it?
No,
No,
week
that's the
before,
following week.
which is good.
Yeah.
Does that sound good for you gentlemen and
Sure.
staff?
Yep.
You okay with that, Chris?
Yep.
All right, let's
5:45.
plan on that 5:45 and we'll meet at Freedom Hall.
There you go.
Fran, thank you for the update on the fixes on the audio system over there. That's great. So motion to adjourn,
Second that.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Chris, can I talk to you for a minute?
Sure can.
Yeah. Did you get my email about the cemetery?
Yes, I did. It's not in our zone 2, but I will follow up on it. I apologize. I didn't get to
That's
follow
okay.
up with you on that. Yeah, I'll get back to you on that. Let me make a note now. Sorry about that. I've been busy.
Perfectly all right. Have a
Yep.
good evening.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Aye.
Right.